Welcome to Grad Guidance, career tips and tools for graduate students. I'm your host, Allie Eckardt, Associate Director of Graduate Student Career Development at Lehigh University.
In this episode, we'll be discussing exploring multiple career paths, featuring Professor Jenna Lay, who works within the Department of English and is the Director of Special Programs in the College of Arts and Sciences for the Eckardt Ideas and Arts Engineering programs. Welcome to Grad Guidance, career tips and tools for graduate students. Today, we're going to be talking about exploring multiple career paths. And we have our guest with us today. So welcome, Jenna Lay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this important topic. And I just wanted to begin before we dive into our topic, if you could tell us a little bit about your professional background and your current role.
Absolutely. So I'm an associate professor in the English department. I'm a faculty senator in Lehigh's Faculty Senate, and I'm also the director of special programs in the College of Arts and Sciences. And in that role, I'm responsible for overseeing 3 different programs. One, which is fully in the College of Arts and Sciences, the Eckardt Scholars Honors Program, and 2 that cross the College of Arts and Sciences and the College of Engineering. And I'm a co-director in both of those programs. So those are the Ideas program, which is an integrated degree program in engineering and arts and sciences, and the Arts Engineering program, which is a 5-year dual degree program. And so in this role, I'm really responsible for a lot of work with undergraduate students, undergraduate advising, and helping oversee these programs. But in my previous role, I was the director of graduate studies in the English department. And before that, I was a career advisor for our students in the English department. And while in those roles, I served as the project director on Lehigh's Next Generation Ph.D. planning grant, and I led a task force on humanities, on graduate education generally at Lehigh. I've also been invited to give talks and lead workshops on humanities graduate education at universities and professional organizations. So I've thought a lot about graduate education over the course of the last 8 years or so. And then in parallel with those roles, I'm a scholar of 16th and 17th century English literature. And I came to Lehigh in 2010 after holding a postdoc at UT Austin and receiving my PhD from Stanford University in 2009.
Excellent. So I know you have a wealth of experience and you are a champion of career development. And I wanted to start with, how should graduate students who are considering multiple career trajectories approach the exploration process?
I think this is such a good question. So first, I'm going to suggest that all graduate students should consider multiple career trajectories while they're in graduate school. As my own career suggests, even tenure track faculty tend to engage in work that is quite far afield from the graduate seminars they took or the dissertation research they completed. And I really wish I had sought out more preparation for those aspects of my career as a graduate student, which would have also helped me prepare simultaneously for other possible careers. So when I have conversations with graduate students who are interested in pursuing multiple possibilities, I first ask them what they are most excited about in the work that they're currently doing and what they wish they could be doing. So I'm going to recommend that you identify your passions and think about how to build on the things that you find most engaging. Are you an engineering graduate student who has always been interested in how universities work? Fantastic. Then you should get involved in the Graduate Student Senate, run for a leadership position, learn more about the structures, the administrative structures of the university. Are you maybe a history MA who wants to be involved in museum work? I would say you should volunteer locally, whether it's at the Zollner Art Gallery or the National Museum of Industrial History or the Historic Bethlehem Museum and sites. Or maybe you're a psychology PhD student who's really invested in issues related to gender and sexuality. Then I would encourage you to get involved in the Pride Center, the Center for Gender Equity, or the Gender Violence Education and Support Office. As this very small list suggests, there are actually so many amazing and different opportunities right here on campus and in the Bethlehem community for graduate students who are interested in exploring career possibilities. And from there, I encourage students to develop 3 possible trajectories, drawing on their interests and passions, and to find ways to continue developing their capacities in those 3 areas throughout their time in graduate school. Sometimes that work will happen naturally through your teaching or your dissertation project, but students may also need to seek out the kind of opportunities that will help them to continue to develop. And that's where, getting involved on campus, getting involved in the local community is a great idea.
So many great pieces of information you shared in there. I love the part about getting in touch with your interests and trying things and talking to people. And I think that's where you start to see what is a good fit, and you gain more information along the way. And I think that's the perfect lead in to the next question, which I think you highlighted a little bit, but wanted to talk more about what steps should graduate students take to clarify their post-graduation plans.
Yeah, absolutely. This, as you suggest, Allie, this is another part of the exploration process in some sense, right? Talk to the people who are doing the jobs that you imagine you might enjoy before you even start to apply, right? You might think, well, I'm interested in academic teaching positions and I talk to my professors regularly, so I'm good. But what I mean is actually something more intentional than that. Set up a time to have an informational interview with people whose careers you admire, and develop a list of questions you might ask someone in any job, right? What does your typical day look like? What do you like about your job? What don't you like about your job? What is something that you have to do regularly that surprised you when you first started? Or what's a skill that you didn't know you needed? You can learn so much from those kinds of conversations with people doing work that you admire. There are also conversations that will often turn up things you don't really expect. So for example, this English faculty member spends a lot more time working with spreadsheets and data than I would have imagined possible in graduate school. And these are the kinds of conversations that are also going to help you sift through the realities of different careers, which often look radically different from the inside than they might appear from the outside. And I really also recommend that students weigh the different parts of their lives that are important to them. It's not just about the job. Is it important to you to live in a certain part of the country or in a certain kind of location, right? A big city, for example. Is it important that you have a support network of friends and family nearby? Do you have a partner whose job isn't movable? Do you hope to have children, and on what timeline? Are evenings and weekends off important to you? Often in academia, we don't attend enough to the ways a career fits into a life rather than the other way around. And one of the great resources for this, in addition to having conversations with people in your life, right, your mentors, your friends, your family, one of the great resources for thinking through some of these questions is Imagine Ph.D. It's a great resource for students in the humanities and the social sciences. I know there are other resources like MyADP for students in the sciences that can help you start to identify some of those values that you hold, right? Start to explore what are the different kinds of skills that you have or that you want to develop, and what are the different types of careers that would enable you to take advantage of those values, those skills, and to really build on the things that are most important to you.
I couldn't agree more. I think what you said about informational interviewing is so important, because it will not only help to grow your network, which we know how important your network can be in an active job search, given that, such a high proportion of positions are secured through, just through connections.
Absolutely.
But also another point that you made, which was, I think, really important, is gaining that insider information is going to help you to decide, is a particular role or organization or company a good fit for you? And then also, what can you do to strengthen, some of those skills you might need? You mentioned, using data, different types of pieces, right? And we have such amazing tools like LinkedIn Learning and all sorts of things that if you discover there's pieces that you need to fill in the gaps or you need to strengthen, you can do so. So I just see that as such a tremendous benefit. And the other part I loved is you highlighting your priorities. I think certainly those are things that they may change along the way, and that's okay. It's important to reflect. So I love the tools you mentioned, Dan. Really, exploration is something you'll do for your whole life, right? But you're going to change roles, you may advance in your career, and it's just going to be something you're always going to be moving through. Absolutely. So since we're talking about multiple career trajectories, I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about some students may be thinking about jobs in academia as well as non-academic jobs, and any advice that you would give to these grad students?
So everything I've said already definitely applies, right? If you're applying to both academic and non-academic jobs, I think all of those steps are going to be really important as you're thinking about preparing for that application process. If you find yourself applying to both types of jobs at the same time, I would recommend you keep in mind the different timelines and application calendars for these types of positions. So while academic jobs have traditionally been on a fairly specific timeline, with jobs posting in the fall that then lead to campus visits in the winter and the spring, non-academic positions can be posted at any time and may have a much shorter hiring process, right? So instead of that very extended hiring process, might be quite a bit shorter. Not always the case, right? But it is important to kind of keep in mind some of those traditional features of these different application processes. In recent years, though, the standard timeline for academic jobs has also shifted, especially as universities have faced increasing fiscal uncertainty in the wake of COVID-19. And so talking to faculty in your department as you're preparing for that academic job search is incredibly important, right? They're going to have the best knowledge about the disciplinary specifics of that timeline in your particular field. You're also going to need to prepare different materials for different types of jobs. So to be sure to use all the resources available to you. Your department will ideally help you to craft materials for an academic job search in your discipline, including a CV and a fairly detailed academic cover letter. You'll also likely have to submit evidence of your research and or your teaching, often a diversity statement. There are many different materials that you'll need to submit for an academic position. And then I would really strongly recommend that you reach out to the Center for Career and Professional Development, no matter what kind of job you're applying for, but especially if you're looking at non-academic jobs. Such a wonderful resource for developing a resume, a briefer cover letter for those non-academic jobs, and also just a great idea to get multiple eyes on all of these materials, right? People in your department, people outside of your department, people in the Center for Career and Professional Development, even just family and friends, especially if they're in different kinds of industries, to kind of get different forms of feedback as you're continuing to refine those materials, because that's a big part of the kind of initial stage of any job search process.
Yeah, that's such excellent advice. We always tell students, you want to really be clear-minded about what are the steps you need to take, how can you tailor those job search materials, understand the industry. And so I think tapping into, as you mentioned, our office and faculty, and we have an amazing alumni network too. So we have so many resources that you can get that information that you need. And I think it really makes a big difference. Want you to feel fully confident and supported. As we like to say in the Career Center, it's like a job to get a job. And so, as you can prepare early and start doing these steps along the way, I think that makes the process a lot easier. So thinking about that, I want to see if there's any other resources or opportunities that you would recommend that graduate students tap into while they're here doing their graduate work.
Yeah, so many. I think we are really spoiled for choice at Lehigh in the best possible way. And, I've already named a few possibilities when we were talking about career exploration, right? So there are so many things on campus that you could get involved in: graduate student senate, student support centers such as Pride or CGE or OMA, the Zollner Arts Center. And there are also so many wonderful possibilities in the local community. I mentioned National Museum of Industrial History, Historic Bethlehem. These are all just a starting point. So I would encourage you to explore what opportunities are there within your own department for graduate students to get involved. Are there committees you could serve on? Are there research projects you could join? From there, think about exploring possibilities beyond your own discipline, whether through a graduate assistantship or just by going to events held by other departments and programs. And I'm also going to recommend that you look for opportunities off campus, whether for volunteering or job shadowing, or even a more formal externship or internship. The CCPD is such a great resource to help you in that search, and you should connect with them, especially with Allie, early and often. Getting that outside perspective, someone not in your home department, on your career aspirations is always a fantastic idea. And they're going to help connect you to the many resources that they have for seeking out job shadowing and internships and things like that. And then finally, I want to put in a plug for the Grad Life Office, the Counseling Center, and the Health and Wellness Center. I think that taking care of both your mental and physical well-being can be such a challenge in graduate school, and I really encourage you to prioritize that. The job search process is often stressful, so I think you should do what you can to infuse joy into that process for yourself, and also to develop all the support mechanisms you might need as you pursue it.
I love the holistic approach and really considering, all the different resources that are going to support you to grow and develop while you're here. And I agree, we are very fortunate to have so many wonderful resources here at Lehigh. And I really also just like the idea of building your skills and connections while you're here. I mean, you gave so many fabulous examples, and that really is one of the things we always are encouraging students to build those skills, build those connections, and then be able to articulate those in your job search materials, on your LinkedIn profile. And so we can help you do that as you take advantage of all of these opportunities. So really appreciate all those different ideas for students to tap into. So we share a lot of great advice for students, but wondering if based on your experience and all the work that you've done with students, do you have any final insights or anything else you wanted to share?
I would say, and this really builds on what you just said, Allie, look for connections, right? Not only to other people as you're building a support and mentorship network, but also among the various things that you enjoy doing. I think being open to possibility and to the unexpected can be really difficult in graduate school, right? You think you need to kind of have blinders on and just focus. But you never know what research interest or volunteer work or teaching enthusiasm or even hobby might develop into something more. So give yourself the space and permission to explore those passions, because that's such an essential part of developing a career trajectory and a life trajectory that's really meaningful for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think having that growth mindset and seeking to learn from others and from experiences is so valuable because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And you may have never thought that a certain experience would resonate with you, or the connections that you made, how truly helpful they would be to you. So I think it's just about, taking the next step, I think, right? It doesn't have to be, I think you can start small, take a small step, talk to someone, right? Ask questions and get involved in something. Even participate, you mentioned Graduate Student Senate, right? Even just come to a meeting, get involved, right? Take a step. I think it makes such a big difference. And the transferable skills that you gain, there's so many that I think you utilize in every role in organization. I think of things like problem solving, data analytics. I think of, collaboration. There's so much, right, that you are going to utilize.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this has been so great to talk about exploring multiple career paths. I think career exploration is a piece that you will use for your entire professional career. I think you're always going to be learning, growing, and exploring on some level. And so they're really critical skills. So I appreciate you sharing so many wonderful tips, all your insights. Thank you so much for taking this time to be here.
You're so welcome. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for asking such wonderful questions and for synthesizing all of our conversation. I thought you did such a wonderful job with that. Thank you.
Well, I'm really glad that grad students can tune in and get more information and take advantage of all the resources. So tune in to the next episode of Grad Guidance, and we're going to be talking about lots of topics that are helpful to graduate students. Take care.
Maximize your time in graduate school. Consider multiple career paths and investigate your options. Identify your interests and priorities. Develop 3 possible career trajectories to explore. Seek out opportunities to develop skills and connections. Conduct informational interviews to learn from others. Seek guidance from faculty, staff, alumni, and those in your network. Take care of yourself and tap into support from campus departments. And utilize career tools and resources available to you. Leverage the support of the Center for Career and Professional Development. You can visit the link below to find out more about resources and opportunities at Lehigh. Check out these career exploration and planning tools for graduate students. Imagine Ph.D. is a free online tool designed for those in the humanities and social sciences. Assess career-related skills, interests, and values. Investigate career paths related to your discipline. Develop goals and create an individual development plan. My IDP is a free online tool designed for those in the sciences. Assess career-related skills, interests, and values. Explore 20 scientific career paths and set goals and develop an individual development plan. Visit the links below for more information.